Today we're going to talk about the pressure measurement lab. This lab has two parts. In the first part of this lab, you will gain familiarity with several different devices used for measuring fluid pressure. In the second part of this lab, you will calibrate an electronic pressure measurement device. 3 of the devices you'll look at in the first part of this lab are sitting behind me on the lab bench. The first of these is a digital pressure gauge. You will use the digital pressure gauge to check the accuracy of the result that you computed in your pre-lab, where you ask what is the pressure difference between your feet and your head. You'll do this by simply lifting the digital pressure gauge off of the lab bench, placing it near your feet, placing it near your head, and taking the difference in readings between those two results. The digital pressure gauge has an input on the back side and reads out pressure in millibar. In this case, we can convert from millibar to Pascal by simply moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. Next to the digital pressure gauge is a slant tube manometer. In this lab, you will be asking the question of why is the slant tube manometer slanted? And then you'll look at what particular benefit we get from the angle at which this slant tube manometer is slanted. On the far side is a wall-type manometer. There's some mounting hardware on the back of this manometer if we wanted to attach it to a wall. In our case, it's on a stand, sitting on our lab bench. The wall-type manometer has 2 inlets, one at the bottom, which is connected to this plastic tube, and the other at the top, which is open to the atmosphere. In this lab, you'll be blowing into the plastic tube and then reading out the pressure in inches of water. 2 other pressure measurement devices that you'll be looking at in the first part of this lab are located across the lab next to and connected to the flow tube assembly. The first of these is the floor model manometer. In this lab, you'll be asked why is this manometer connected in the way that it is, and you'll look at its function. Second, you'll look at the well comparison manometers, which are connected to pressure taps on the flow tube, and you'll make some simple comparison measurements. In this part of the lab, you'll also gain familiarity with the function of the flow tube and the blower which drives it, and so I'll show you that briefly right now. I'm standing next to the controls for the blower, which drives flow through the flow tube, which I'll be taking pressure measurements on. To start the blower, your TA will press the green start button. You can then adjust the speed of the blower using this dial here. To turn the blower off, turn the speed down, and then press the green stop button. Through the window behind me, you can see where the blower itself is located. In just a second, I'll take you into that room to show you some of the different components of the blower, and your TA should do the same during your lab session so you can get an idea of how it operates.
The motor, which is inside the orange housing, drives the pump through a shaft.
In the second part of this lab, you'll be asked to generate a calibration curve for this surfa pressure transducer. This pressure transducer reads out in volts, and you'll measure that voltage using this multimeter. At the same time, you'll measure pressure using the Dwyer microtector. However, before you can take any pressure measurements using this device, you'll have to figure out how it works, with some help from your TA. You might start by answering the question of why a device, which is meant to read out pressure, has a scale measured in microamps. You'll take pressure measurements and voltage measurements at 4 different conditions. First, you'll take measurements when the flow tube is off, when flow through the flow tube is off. And then you'll take measurements at 3 different increasing flow speeds. Once you've done this, you'll plot the voltage versus the measured pressure for each of those conditions to generate a calibration curve. You can use this in the future in order to take pressure measurements using this surfa pressure transducer. And that's actually it for the pressure measurement lab. If you have any questions, please ask your TA, and thanks for watching.